The trend of hyper-local consumerism has been described as a huge opportunity we have been looking for the food and fibre sector to be able to connect our curious consumers about how their food and fibre is produced. Experiential knowledge. So when we experience something, that is when we retain the most amount of knowledge. It's something I'm super passionate about. You think we use our five senses. We see, touch, feel, hear and smell. And emotions are then attached to that. And that is what stays with us in terms of patriotism towards something or loyalty towards something. Eat New Zealand, the non-profit food movement that believe our homegrown food is, of course, world class. The quality of our produce, the skill, creativity and passion of our people, our spirit, our respect and openness means the food we create is of the highest global standard. And you know what, as Kiwis, we are as close to the source as you can get. So pull up a seat at our table as we cross now to what is known as the Food Farm, where we're joined by Eat New Zealand CEO Angela Clifford. Good evening, Angela.
Good evening, Sarah.
Now, I've got a goodie down here. Jolanda Williams has said she's really looking forward to the kids going back to school under level 2. I know your mother. How are you coping?
Oh, yeah, look, I'm just hanging out for Sunday. I've made it quite clear it needs to be a very special Mother's Day this year. So, yes, it's one day at a time around here. My kids have been amazing.
Isn't it hard though, because, you know, they came from you and this is the bit too. And it's kind of like karma in a way. I think that's what's going to come and get me anyway. I'm a bit nervous about it.
Yeah, I mean, amazing kids to even be able to completely transform their learning into online, but it just definitely creates a different dynamic as they try to work out how to make this all work. So massive respect, but looking forward to my own bubble at some point.
Yes, absolutely. Angela, firstly, can I say on behalf of New Zealand food producers to actually thank you for all the hard work you tirelessly do to open up the conversations that we need to have. I mean, what you've been, I really want to know what your proudest moment has been, say, in the last year or so, of where the conversation is now from where you started.
Yeah, I mean, funnily enough, and it's quite ironic given our current circumstances, probably my proudest moment was being in New York City last November with New Zealand Tourism talking about our food and wine story, and Toronto as well. It was just a culmination of a number of years of really hard work convincing tourism of the value of food and our food and beverage story. And it sort of culminated in that moment, and it felt like an amazing moment, and the landscape looked beautiful and wonderful ahead. And then just, you know, sort of 3 months later, things have changed majorly, obviously for tourism, but for food in general, definitely.
Level 2 is a huge opportunity for us to reconnect with our own domestic tourism. I mean, there isn't just a lost opportunity because our international tourists won't be here for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually a massive opportunity to reset everything. So a chance to put food and food producers at the forefront and to enable our regional food stories to be unearthed and to convince New Zealanders to become ambassadors for our national food story. You know, they've just done some research around what we're expecting around food, regional tourism moving forwards. And interestingly, the statistics suggested that a huge amount, like over 80%, expected that food experiences would lead their regional tourism experience. So, I mean, we've never had a better opportunity, really, to reset and to put food at the centre of our tourism story, I think.
Now, Angela, and something for your knowledge that you're probably not aware about me, as well as the fact of the audience wouldn't know, but back 10 years ago, I was just finishing up 3 years of managing the Lugget Hotel outside of Wanaka. And it's a beautiful schist, gorgeous old historic hotel right outside a major tourist place like Wanaka in Central Otago, which has got beautiful food, beautiful wine. And I felt at the time when I took it over that there was a real disconnect still. It was strange to me coming coming from a farming background, that we weren't utilising that hospitality operation to do that. So had the privilege of being able to host dinners and bring food producers and winemakers and everything together. And it was just the real start for how powerful that is. But then to go to another hospitality place in New Zealand that is far more expensive and ask the waiters, well, where does this come from? And to a blank stare is such a lost opportunity.
Oh, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. And I think a big part of Eat New Zealand's mission over the last few years has been connecting those different parts of our food system, from agriculture to agribusiness to hospitality and tourism. And they're just not they haven't been natural bedmates, and there's a whole lot of reasons for that. But one of our biggest challenges has been that sort of de-siloing or silo busting that sits around our food. And connecting those different pieces of the system back together again. And you're right, the opportunity to tell our stories in that space is incredible, and nobody can compete with us. There's such unique, connected, authentic stories that if we tell them really well, then we lead the world. So nobody can come at us, whereas they might be able to come at us around mountains or lakes or whatever, but our food stories truly belong to us. So I think that's a big opportunity.
There has been a lot of discussion around the fact that New Zealand, being such a young country, originally, a lot of us from Europe and the UK, haven't had a chance over 150 years to really develop our own cuisine. And so therefore we don't really know what we're selling. But I argue that too.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. My argument in return would be we actually have an incredibly amazing, rich and long history of Indigenous food culture and people and stories and ingredients that belong uniquely on a global scale to this place only. It's just that we haven't been particularly good at acknowledging or unearthing those stories. And that comes about, I think, from being a colony. We were the paddock in the ocean for the motherland. And so we were never encouraged to have any self-identity around that. And I think times are changing. I think more than ever, even just over the last 6 weeks, that sort of sense of national pride and what it is that we can achieve when we all work together collectively is hugely powerful. So, yeah, I think we have a cuisine.
Yeah.
I think we have a food nation. Yep.
Angela, I think also what's missing is I like to call myself a connector. I really get off on being able to know someone and then know who they need to talk to. And you were exactly the same as that. In a webinar that I was witnessing that you were presenting at a couple of weeks ago, you talked about the fact that a lot of producers of value-added products don't actually know that there is a source of that particular type of product here in New Zealand, and it's that marrying up part. I mean, I talked to the lady who did Pure Delish cereals at the food show in Christchurch, and I said, why don't you use more New Zealand product? And she said, there is none. I said, there is. We just have to go to Canterbury. And so how much of your work is that pairing up, and where can we create that?
Yeah, there's a huge opportunity. And interestingly, I think that sits a lot around farmers realizing the power of their story and being really connected to who their eaters are. And I don't necessarily think that our systems have encouraged that, but I think moving forwards, that's definitely going to be the way to build more resilient food systems, is to find your eaters. And even if you need to do that in a small cooperative model, you can find the people who are going to eventually consume your food. And definitely a big part of my work with Eat New Zealand is making that connection with people. Yeah. And the arable sector is something I feel really passionately about, and just a huge opportunity in that space.
You'll be a big supporter of their pledge for 100% New Zealand wheat by 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. It's a really important part of our plate, and it creates a major food security issue for us now more than ever. And it's not just milling wheat, it sits around our other grains and beans and pulses and things like that. So it is really important to be aware of the provenance and the source of that entire food group in order to make sure that we continue to have really good supply chains to, good nutrient dense local food. I think that's really important.
So just passing, what does Eat New Zealand's next 12 months look like in your mission?
Yeah. Asked me 6 weeks ago or asked me in another 6 weeks, and things are moving so fast at the moment, huh? But really our mission is to establish a digital presence for the New Zealand food story. We think there's huge opportunity in terms of creating aspirational and virtual travellers. So to connect agribusiness up with that opportunity to tell our story from afar, particularly when they can't go to market or we can't bring people here. But by doing that, we also reveal and unearth local food networks and create ability for our regional travellers to find our food story along our way. So that's going to be a really big thing. And the other thing we feel really strongly about is we've got some major food insecurity problems coming at us in terms of people being able to feed themselves. So we can see some amazing models around the country that have considered the solutions to that, and we're hoping to be able to sort of replicate that, and we think that hospitality has a really important role to play in that too. So it's connecting agribusiness and hospitality to make sure that we can feed our own people.
What I'm looking forward to out of level 2 is bringing up some wine to the food farm and sitting down and carrying on this conversation, Angela, because we have a lot to talk about.
We have wine.
Oh, good. Oh, wonderful. That is Angela Clifford. She's the CEO of Eat New Zealand. And I tell you what, I have been waiting for the opportunity to have her a part of Sarah's Country because, as you can imagine, we are very aligned in our belief systems.
This is Sarah's Country.